2.
Okay, the time is 6:32. Everybody please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all for coming this evening. So, before we open it up to public comment, I just want to kind of go over some of the housekeeping rules. Members of the public will be able to address the board for 2 minutes each. When you come to the podium, please give your name and address for the record. All comments, please direct to the board. Do not direct your comments to anybody else in the room. And with that, we will open up our public hearing. First call for public comment. Step up to the podium and give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Tony Cedrone, 60 Greenwood Circle. My concern isn't so much the budget in the sense that there's not a lot of fat in there. It really is a decent budget, guys. I understand the pressures you have. I did this job once here. You wouldn't know in the 80s. So I'm very aware of what you go through. My questions concern 2 things tonight for seniors dealing with the budget. The first one is some people have disability compensation. They get a reduction in their assessment by 10.5. With the reduction in the mill rate, that's going to drop. Their benefit is going to drop. Is there any consideration about increasing that reduction? Because you're dropping from 36 mills, roughly 3670, down to 29 or 28 and change. So that's going to drop them. That's going to drop their benefit. That's the first one. That's a minor one, but it's there. Okay, something to consider. Second one's a little bit more difficult. Second one deals more with income levels. Seniors in many towns, including Seymour, have an age limit, a benefit for people over a certain age, where they can get a cap on their taxes, a reduction in their taxes. And I'm not sure what that number is today. It used to be fairly low. It probably still is fairly low. My question is twofold. What is that number today? And is it based on adjusted gross income or is it based on gross total income? Those are my 2 questions. I'm not sure you guys can answer that here. Hopefully somebody has technical knowledge of it. I don't know if you do, but if you do, please.
Okay, so typically the board cannot respond to questions to the public. However, I will ask Jason to look into that, and we could mention that at our next public meeting.
Okay. That's it. That's my 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next.
Good evening. My name is Erica Marcinzik, 21 Jacko Drive. And I just wanted to share a concern that I have. I did take the time to watch the 10-minute video that was posted about the proposed budget. And I can see that there was a lot of effort made to try to keep the taxes down as low as possible. The concern that we have is I've been living in Seymour for 25 years, since 2000. And our house value, the taxes increase has always gone up, and we expect it to go up every year. This is the first year that our taxes will actually go up 20%. Our house, we can't control the assessment value, but our house value went up 61%. So with the new mill rate, I did look into it, and we are paying like an additional $2,000 a year with taxes. We love Seymour. There's a great educational system here. My 3 daughters have completely benefited from it. At this point, I do have twins that are in college, and I have my 3rd that will be entering college in the fall of 2026. So budgeting for college tuition, as well as mortgage and property taxes, is very difficult. So I just wanted to express the concern that 20% increase in 1 year is very difficult to manage and to budget. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Come on.
Joan Fermenter, 189 Roosevelt Drive. Actually, I own 2 houses on Roosevelt Drive. I own 189 and 191, and my assessed value of both of my houses went up 33% each. Again, like the last speaker, how do you budget for something like that? That's it.
Okay. Okay, next. Come on up.
Robert Cochran, 140 Skullcrat. My concern is how does this budget take into respect of what's going on in Washington with the cuts in the education to the schools and the state? And the other thing is the mill rate this time is it's not bad, but in the previous year when we had assessment, my mill rate went up, my taxes went up on my house, went up $38,000. This time, 4 years later, they went up $75,000. Now, and the last time, when the mill rate was adjusted, my taxes went up like $1,000 a year. This year, they're not going up as much. They're only going approximately $300, which is not bad. But it's, you know, things are getting tight. And there's a lot of us seniors that are on fixed income and rely on, in my case, I'm retired military, I rely on military pension. Don't know whether I'm going to get that anymore or if it's going to be cut. Same thing with my VA disability and my Social Security for me and my wife. And so I commend you for keeping it as low as you can and doing your best to get it down, but there's a point where some people are going to be hurting, and we're trying to figure out how to budget our budgets each year. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay. Next. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Joe Criscolo. I live at 27 Buckingham Road. And first, I'd just like to say thank the board for the time you put in for this. I served on the board maybe 20 years ago or so with Mr. Miller here, so I do appreciate the time that you all put in, especially around budget season. I guess my question is, the budget itself, the percentage rates, that type of thing, does not seem unreasonable. But I think whatever has to be done to kind of shift the burden of the taxes from the residential homeowners to business, I guess, meaning, trying to bring in more business, especially Tri-Town Plaza, that eyesore has been there for over 20 years. So I don't know if it's a question or a concern, but I just think that really needs to be kind of addressed so that some of these big increases we've heard can be shifted away from the homeowner to more commercial, retail, that kind of thing. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Brian Floss, 5 Peace Drive. I had a whole thing I was going to read, but I don't think I'm going to. The bottom line is that a couple years ago I kind of started trying to be a voice for the old people when they were not really being spoken for. Got beat up quite a bit, got nowhere, and right now we're back in the same boat. The town did a good job keeping their budget pretty simple, but the Board of Education is just completely out of control. Every year, always the same. I did a post on the Facebook town page, and I listed the last time I came in here, I came in with one town review or review of the town education. Deemed not enough, deemed unworthy. So today I went and looked for the 4 major ones that everyone goes by, that everyone talked about, and still the school system, and for God help me, the kids do spectacular given what screwed up administration allows them to do. Teachers break their you-know-whats, the kids do a great job, but it is still a mess. The school systems are average at best. 2 of them listed math being subpar, English or reading being above par. 1 of them listed the administration at a C. This is a mess. You got old people moving out. You got old people losing their homes. You got old people that are on that are eating their own cat's cat food. My mom and my father, my grandfather built my parents' house 60-something years ago. We're losing it. And no one gives a shit. Everyone wants to go in and say, well, the school system's got to be top. They're not top notch. They're not even close to being top notch. They're not even into the 3/4 level. So at this point in time, we're still throwing money against a bad product and getting no ROI. And that's the exact argument I put forth last time, and that's the exact argument that we got going now. The ROI is not there.
Okay. Just a little over the 2.5 minutes. Thank you.
Oh, I'd like to, for my mom, she couldn't make it. That's
Okay.
just, if she would.
Correspondence, okay.
She would say that.
Thank you. Okay, next. Come on up.
Gail Warhola, 85 West Street. First, I want to thank you for putting the time into this budget, and I wanted to thank the Board of Ed for doing it as well, too. I'm a former Seymour teacher, and my former colleagues are not going to like what I have to say. I was looking at the budget for the Board of Education, and I noticed that for administrators, the budget is $2,097,282. And I was perusing the Board of Ed, the school website, and I see that there are 10 administrators. So 10 administrators are making over $2 million. I also looked up the number of students we had in the town, and it looks like there are 2,133 students. And I know that we base what we put into education, per student. So based on these figures, we are spending excuse me one second so I get it right, $937.65 per student goes towards administration.
Sure, thank you. Next.
Good evening, Teresa Conroy, 177 Skokrat Street. Again, thank you all for all the work you've been putting into this budget. I know it hasn't been easy. I've been to a lot of these meetings, and you've had a lot of work to do. A couple of issues I just wanted to address was I'm a little concerned about the pothole repair. You only have $10,000 in there. If you drive around this town right now, I think that's going to be eaten up really quick. So you might want to look at that again and revisit it and talk to Public Works to see if that's going to be enough to do what we need to do with these roads in town. I do have concerns still with the Community Services Department where there's a 7.19% increase in one of the salaries. Most of the people in town are getting 2.49%. When the budget, when the department they put in for the 2.49, but now it's at 7.19. Also, with the fire director, the department put in for $5,000. The First Select Woman's Office put in for $5,000, and then the Board of Finance approved $10,000. You're hearing from people here today about their taxes going up. I know it's just a small amount, but every bit is going to help, especially when you're looking at the seniors. I believe you're going up $10,000 on their relief, which is something, but there's more seniors here, and we want to keep them in their homes. So going from the $50,000 to $60,000 to give them a break really isn't that much. So just listen to the people today and see if you can do anything. We want to keep people in their homes for as long as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Don't be shy here. Come on up.
Hi, Kristen Bruno, 10 Makani Court. I just want to address the statement about school administration as well as the constant sort of concern about us having excessive administration. Year after year, we have cut administrators. We no longer have an assistant superintendent. We no longer have an assistant director of special services. We've reduced principals at the high school by one assistant principal. We no longer have an administrator in the role of athletic director. So teachers are doing more of that work. The research shows that the most impactful spending of money on a child's education is having a great teacher in the classroom, having quality building leaders, and having continuity of leadership. So when you say, oh, it's easy, just cut administrators, there's nowhere left to cut as far as administration goes. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
I would just also add that we have also made cuts from the teachers' unions, from the paraeducators, from the secretaries. Cuts in previous years have impacted every level of staffing in the schools.
Thank you. Next. Next. All right, we'll allow it because you did not go your full 2 minutes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. Come on up. Mm-hmm.
My name's Andy North. I live on Agelos Farm, for Agelos Farm, and wasn't going to get up and say anything, but after hearing a few of the comments, I think number one, my first one is I've been a resident here for 20 years. You know, my kids now 4 and 7 years old. One of them goes to Bungay, and from an educational standpoint, I can't speak to the other schools, but my son absolutely loves going to school. He's doing great. All the parents that I know love that school, and it is an absolute gem. So, you know, I just like to put that on the record that I think it's phenomenal. And my wife, who moved here from California, was like, oh, we're going to a small town, and the schools, she couldn't be happier. So that's my first comment. My other comment is my taxes are going up like $2,000, which is fine, right? But there's a lot of people in the town that's going to hurt. And we talk about bringing in new business and all that, but it's tough. I mean, Seymour's kind of landlocked. It's very difficult. You guys have a very difficult job. I mean, you have a lot of headwinds coming in from the state of Connecticut, from all the liberals that are out there, and I think it's totally unfair. You guys have to deal with that. I think you should put your efforts towards economic development and figuring out what we can do with the town in order to get our revenue up, because over time, this is going to get worse, and you guys are operating on a pretty tight budget, and I applaud you for that. But I would focus my efforts on how do we get our revenue up over the next 5 to 10 years. And that should be a maniacal focus of the town for everybody. So thanks for everything you do, and have a good night.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. Lisa Cinquina, 29 Moss Ave, which is part of the Hickory Hill condos. I'd have to concur that I agree with this gentleman talking about the economic growth. We really need to get someone to take that position, and with that position, the board should consider also providing for a public relations and a marketing campaign. A couple of years ago, many years ago, when we did the fish ladder, I wanted to offer my services to do some public relations on a national level. We would have brought in all kinds of news media, Field and Stream, outdoor magazines, and things like that, and it was kind of squashed. There has to be some new and fresh ideas and approaches, and I recognize that we've got the future of our children here in Seymour that we want to protect and guide and foster a good education with good administrators. But as another gentleman said, you do have an older population, and we do want people to stay in the town and feel that sense of closeness and that charm that Seymour does provide to its community. But our infrastructure as a whole is old, and it needs some love and it needs some care. And I can't imagine a single family household with 2 children, perhaps as an average, to incur additional costs with their taxes on top of the Eversource, the food. We're seeing gas, we're seeing some food go down, but house insurance and car insurance has gone up, astronomical in the past couple of years. We're all taking shelter right now from the 5 years of what COVID did and set back people and shut down mom and pop businesses. And we just can't take this hit right now. Myself, my taxes will go up approximately $2,000. That's a lot of money for a single individual to budget out, on top of we've got maintenance fees that just went up. We're being assessed for a new driveway. I don't know where that extra money is going to come from. So while I know that sometimes attitudes towards condominium owners or residents in town are kind of, looked the other way, do consider us. We're just as normal as the homeowner, but we just happen to live in a condo, and we have expenses as well that are no better or different than a resident, but we're going to be feeling the pinch as well. And so I ask you to really be as creative as you can and listen to all these wonderful voices that have come out tonight to give you a piece of their mind and their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Next.
I have some notes with me. First, I want to say thank you all for what you do. I know that this is a tireless process and obviously quite thankless, other than a couple people that come up here and give you a thinly veiled thank you, which is really a complaint. So I'm going to basically do the same. On the Board of Education side, our increases, as you guys all know, but I think some education for our residents is important. Our increases are based on contractual increases, which everybody will say, why are people getting increases? People in every profession get increases. What I can say on the Seymour side, what we do to control those costs is when we go into negotiations on every contract, we are successfully able to settle on increases that are lower than all of our peer communities. The data is there. You can look at it. We're able to do it because Seymour is an exceptional place to live and work. Secondly, health insurance premiums, which is a hot topic right now. Hard to control. Not a lot that we can do about it. What we do on the Board of Education side is when we go into negotiations, we continually push for more of a split between the Board of Education and the policyholders themselves. The town side is less successful. The Board of Education side is more successful in that regard. Third thing is special education, state mandates. We cannot control what the state tells us we have to do and how we have to run our special education programs, which is a growing concern year over year. What we do is we fight like hell to keep our students in district as opposed to outplacing. Outplacing costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it can blow up a budget very quickly. What is not true, our administrators are making too much money. 10 administrators in this community is a bare minimum. With 4 schools, with a central office to run, we have cut administration year after year. We have a high school with just 1 assistant principal. There are very few high schools of our size with that few administrators. People at the top of their profession, in any profession, cost a lot of money. That's not untrue of any other profession. It's not untrue in town hall. What is true? Our high school offers numerous college accreditation opportunities. It offers programs to allow students to become EMT certified. We offer job opportunities with Griffin Hospital. That's just a few of the opportunities that we offer. We punch well above our weight in terms of our offerings. Each year, our principals come to us and they tell us what they need. These asks and needs total in the millions of dollars. We cannot even dare come to you guys and relay that information because we know it will be shot down. There is no fluff in our budget. I have one more point, Richard.
Okay.
Revaluation, in general, should be an opportunity to move things forward. We all have a lot higher net value, our net worth as homeowners, and unfortunately, we're not being able to do that. And one final point that's not related, revenue is primarily driven by residential tax base. People need to understand that we want to fight for economic development, but it is residential tax base that makes it up. Every time this community has a new development opportunity, the residents fight it. Keep that in mind. Thank you.
Yes, for the record, name and address.
Stefan Bahuniak, 36 Birchwood Road.
Thank you. Okay. Next. Next. Okay. Oh, go. Okay. Come on up. I'm going to start winding it down. So.
Megan Krasinski, 211 Mountain Road. So, good evening, Board of Finance members. As I said, my name is Megan Krasinski, and I'm privileged to stand before you as the president of the Seymour Education Association. I'm here tonight not just as a representative of our teachers, but also as a voice for our students and some community members, urging you to fully support the Seymour Public School System budget. The budget is not built on extras, it's built on essentials. Every line item reflects what's necessary to provide a strong education for our students. Over the years, we have scrutinized every expense, stretched every dollar, and made tough choices. At this point, any further cuts would not be about efficiency, it would be about sacrifice. And the ones that we would be making the sacrifice on are our children. Our schools are not asking for more than what's needed to do the right job. We're asking for the resources to keep class sizes reasonable, to ensure students receive the support they need, and to attract and retain the best educators for this community. These aren't luxuries. They are the foundations of a good school system. Strong schools don't just shape the lives of students, they shape the strength and the character of a town. When we invest wisely in education, we are investing in the future where Seymour is not just getting by, but thriving. A future where families choose to stay here, where businesses choose to grow, and our students choose to give back to the community that gave them their start. Tonight, I'm asking you all to stand with us, to stand with the students, to stand with the families, and to stand with the educators who believe in Seymour's future. Let's make the right choice for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Well, see now, if I start getting into that, then where do we draw the line here?
Going once, going twice.
So, anybody else? Gonna start winding it down here. Public comment. Going once. Going twice. Going 3 times. Okay, the public portion is now closed. Okay, so before we adjourn, I would like to afford the Board of Education and our first select woman a chance to make some final comments to the board before we adjourn. So, anybody from the Board of Ed wish to make some final comments? No? Okay. First select woman, Dragonis.
Hello, good afternoon.
afternoon. Amber Dragonis, 111 Middle Benham Road, Seymour. I got a couple questions. I did check into the questions about disability. The gross income plus Social Security income limit is 45,200 for single and 55,000 for 100 if married. And I asked about the disability because of the mill rate going down, and it stays the same. Even though the mill rate changed, I don't know who the gentleman was, it stays the same. I was texting our assessor the questions. So I have a couple of comments to the questions. I know Selectwoman Conroy brought it up again about the community service director, about that 7.49. So that is our rec director. And in the union contract, it's a 2.49 increase. This year, he's on a step increase. So that's the added as per the union contract. And as this is a new union contract, we'll be going into negotiations after June. We put a cushion in there for negotiations. So that's where that 7.49 comes from. I did look into, in the potholes, there's 10,000 into potholes, but we also have contingency roads, so there's money in our contingencies for the road. I had a chance to sit down with our town engineer and our public works director, talking about the roads, and we're getting the pricing just to mill and repave a mile of road. And for instance, Seymour only has 280 roads and 82 miles of town-owned roads, not including state roads. So it's $300,000 per a mile, just for reclaiming, just for milling and repaving. To reclaim a road, it's $450,000, and to do a full depth, a little over $1 million for a mile of road. So that's what we're looking at for roads. So if the 1.7% budget on the town side fails, we are looking at cutting. So we looked at if we have to cut a person, regular, and a department head, I can get 1/3 of a mile of road done with one person let go, and 2/3 of a mile for a department head to be let go. So we are looking at that. And remember, we are still waiting for healthcare numbers to come in as well. And we're still in talks with negotiations on our contracts. So I just want that to remember that. We ask that you put a fair budget to the taxpayers. Thank you.
We're going to adjourn the public hearing.